Now I know that you guys have been waiting, and I know because the phone lines are like lit up. So, Tanaath, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, and I just want you to know, baby, they're waiting. As a matter of fact, I guess I should formally introduce you. I mean, everybody that's listening, know we have new listeners that don't know who you are. So for them, I'm just going to recap your bio. And
okay.
And the first thing that I want to do before we get into, because I have a lot of questions for you that came to me via email, but I also have Abigail holding on in North Dakota, and she wants to come on and ask you a question. So we're going to put her on right away, right after I introduce you, right after I get through your bio, because she's graciously
Before you do that, Vince, whatever it was you were saying to Tessa, I could not hear Tessa's side. I can only hear your voice. So if Abigail wants to ask me a question, they're going to need to find some way for me to be able to hear Abigail as well.
Okay. Were you
and now you just got really, really quiet.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just looking at the producer. So because it's like, okay, well, yeah, but let me introduce you, and I'll bring her on and see if you can hear her. If not, then I will relate a question to you, because there shouldn't be an issue with that, because we didn't have one the last time that we had questions and answers with you via Skype. So,
but that was calling in on a calling line for that last time.
I thought I thought we had you on via Skype.
No, I was calling using my Skype, but I was calling your landline.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me formally introduce you. Tanaath is the creator and maintainer of SilverLegion.org. She is a human incarnated member of the Silver Legion, an organization of mostly non-physical light warriors based out of a higher layered realm. Tanaath is a spokesperson for the Silver Legion, authorized to speak to others living in this 3D reality. She lives life more or less like a normal human being for the most part. Chances are, if you met her on the street, you wouldn't notice anything different about her except for maybe the fact that she would be giving you a sunny smile. She's an honored guest and making her 6th appearance on the Talk with Vince show. We got Tanaath. I know, and Susie is really excited.
Hi,
got on her little
Hi, Susie.
Silver Legion outfit.
Yeah, I told Vince we're going to take a picture,
Chris,
so you can see.
What we're going to do is, because Abigail has been holding on so long, let's bring Abigail on so that she can ask her question. Oh, you have it? Yeah. Abigail, are you there?
I'm here.
Tanaath, can you hear Abigail?
Hello, Tanaath.
Did we just lose Tanaath?
Internet connection, yes, we did.
So, Abigail, we just lost her, so we're going to get her back because she's in via Skype. And you're in North Dakota, correct?
Correct.
How's the weather there today?
About 45 or so. 40, 45.
It's about 45 degrees. Oh, that's not too bad.
That's warm for here.
Yeah, it is warm for there. You know,
yeah.
I was thinking something down around like 20, 30.
Yeah, it was 24 on Monday, but now today we're up to 45 or so, and yesterday was 53. Very warm.
Y'all having a heat wave.
In a way, yeah. We've had 2 days this week over 50, so that's very unusual.
That is very unusual. You know, I used to be stationed next door. I was in Great Falls, Montana.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And my last winter there, it got down to, I think it was 40 or 50 below. Wind chill factor was it was like 20 below, and then wind chill factor, it was down to about 30. I think it was about 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Below.
We get down to even as much as 70 below at times, just for a few days in the winter on occasion. And that doesn't happen every winter, but everybody really stays in during that time. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, it is very dangerous, because I remember them telling us that at that time we had to cover ours because of the fact that your lungs could actually freeze. And we would have to plug up our cars, because that was when I coming from Georgia, I knew nothing about block heaters. And we had to put block heaters on and plug the car up to a block heater to keep the block warm, or it would freeze the engine. So
that's good.
I think we're still trying to get Tanaath back up via Skype. So
Okay.
she may have to call in if we can't get her back up via Skype. But Chris is working on it.
Well, I can tell you a little funny story. My first winter here, it got down to 60 below one time. And I hadn't been in that kind of temperature before. And if you sneeze, it actually freezes out in midair. The little particles just freeze out in the air.
Yeah, that is crazy. How long have you been in North Dakota?
About 12 years now.
Okay. Tanaath, are you back with us?
I'm back, and I can't hear Abigail at all, if that's still Abigail.
Yeah,
That's still Abigail.
Yeah, it's still Abigail. Chris, she's saying that she can't hear Abigail. Is there a way for you to make her hear Abigail?
I really don't know why, but I hear her.
You hear her? Well, yeah, because we can hear both of them, but she can't hear Abigail. But Abigail,
I can only hear Vince.
What's your question for Tanaath, and I'll relay it.
Okay. My question is, one for her and one for Sunfire, if Sunfire's on.
No, Sunfire is not on with her.
Oh, okay. Then she might know the answer to both, actually. First question is, were the cylindrical-shaped vehicles that were traveling with ice on, were they the reptilians that were just involved in this recent skirmish? And if so, then that proves that they were of the negative. Okay, the second question would be, is that related in any way to the L-shaped craft that were identified by the Secure Team 10?
Okay. Got it. You got it, Susie?
Yeah, I think so. I was like, no, I don't do shorthand, so, I was like doing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Tanaath, her question was, were the cylindrical-shaped crafts that were accompanying ISON related to the reptilians in the recent skirmish? And if so, they would be of the quote-unquote negative. And also, are the L-shaped craft related to the Secure Team 10? I hope that makes sense.
The cylindrical-shaped craft dogging the ISON object are reptilian. They were not involved in the skirmish that Julian Wells relayed. And yes, indeed, I do have confirmation that skirmish occurred more or less as he described. The individual in contact with him is a Silver Legion officer. Julian used the term commander. The equivalent rank would be lieutenant colonel for that individual, as he commands the Trollface Battalion. As for the L-shaped craft, I'm not too sure what the question was, but I will state broadly, the L-shaped craft are not enemies. They are associated with the parent organization or the parent entity of the Andromeda Council, and they are friendly, very, very trustworthy, and basically had a few things to say to the Andromeda Council here about how things were being conducted. So they're good guys. They're not here to hurt any Terrans, that's for sure.
Okay. And I want to relay a question to you from Kimberly Scott in Woodland Hills, California. She says, as an incarnate, will you still have earthly responsibilities either after ascension or when your mission is completed here on Earth, i.e., will you still be an earthly being?
It all depends on, how things go, really. I'm planning on, when the mission is done here, I'm planning on resuming my full self. That won't be at the point of ascension. That will be sometime after, once everything has all been sort of sorted out here. At that point, my mission is complete. My contractual obligations end. But I will definitely not, just flit out of here and leave you high and dry. I've got a lot of friends and loved ones on this planet, many of whom will likely be staying behind. So I'll be back to visit. Plus, the Silver Legion intends to maintain a presence until Terra is able to field its own defense fleet And we intend to help contribute to training and other things of that nature to help you guys get ready to defend yourselves and stand on your own as a galactic member.
How close are we to doing that?
Well, it's hard to say, really. The information that we're getting indicates that, efforts are being made, but we're nowhere near able to be open in that. Likely that's something that's going to take place in the decades and centuries to come after Ascension. And, understand that your lifespans will be a lot longer by that point. So when I say centuries, you don't need to go, oh, I'll never see it then. Because you will. You might even be a participant, if that's what you choose.
Yeah, can you imagine me as a pilot? Hell, I think I want to go become part of the Mars Defense Force or Saturn Defense Force or, I don't know, maybe some interstellar travel. I could handle that. I could be flying one of those little bitty
spacecrafts.
Yeah, there'll need to be, there's a need for, or there will be a need for pilots of all varieties, both small craft, crews and captains of larger craft, things like that. Training will be available to basically anybody who has the desire.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened in the Philippines, because there's been speculation out there that maybe this thing was man-made or HAARP was involved. But one of the things that I think we have to understand is that where the Philippines lies on this planet, it is subjected to a lot of earthquakes and a lot of different storms just because of where it's located at. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, what is the Silver Legion's assessment of what happened there, and was there any outside involvement from the cabal or malevolent beings?
Yes, it was an induced event. I mean, the initial beginnings of the hurricane may have been natural, but definitely there was outside intervention from negative groups with ill intentions. It was meant to extort. From what Hank has told me, because I did ask him specifically about the hurricane in the Philippines, and what I'm permitted to release is that it was an attempt to extort gold out of the government of the Philippines. Basically, the cabal believes that there's a lot of gold hidden in the Philippines, and we're attempting to extort that out of them. I guess they're running very, very short on funds. So...
Yeah, because
in order to maintain operations, they need money, and one of the ways to get that is to have gold, since the rest of the world is losing faith in this fiat currency, this magic zeros and ones made up by computers that don't actually represent anything. So yeah, it was an attempt to extort gold. Now the joke's on them. There's nothing there to extort.
Right.
But that doesn't help all of the people who were killed, who lost their homes, who are now short on food, water, who got injured, who've lost loved ones and are displaced and are in very dire straits. There were attempts made by our people to try to mitigate the hurricane, but mitigation does not mean much when so many people still suffered.
No, it
so it's a place that really needs everybody's help right now.
It is. It does. It really does need our help. And let me ask you, because when you're dealing with natural tragedies, or in this case, natural with man-made induced properties into it to make it even bigger, and you're dealing with superstorms like Yolanda, is it a hard transition for those souls crossing over?
No. I've been informed by somebody who has died over and over and over again and keeps coming back to repeat timelines that it's actually very painless.
Right. And so do I mean that, because sometimes when you have a tragic event and people, and let me say this, is that whenever somebody is involved in an accident, or an accident is about to happen, and it's going to be very painful or very tragic, those individuals, that soul is snatched, spirit is snatched from the body prior to that event happening, so that they don't feel the shock and awe that the body goes through.
We have been involved in helping those individuals who are, who pass, and making sure that they understand that, they're okay, they're going to be okay, even though the body has now perished. And also, helping them deal with the grief of their loved ones at the loss of their lives.
And what I kept thinking about was one of the things that came to my mind was, remember when you were on the show and you were talking about that soul prison where you guys went and rescued those souls? So I was wondering, with so many crossing over at one time, was the reptilians involved in trying to capture any of those souls, or were you guys monitoring that at all?
We were monitoring that. We had a large contingent that was helping to make sure that nobody got captured. Okay. And if anybody got captured, to track down those people and free them. So, they're not going to have that sort of free reign to imprison people anymore.
And one of the questions that I also wanted to ask you was, when the Earth has a natural disaster like Typhoon Yolanda, how does other star systems or cosmic bodies view the event, such as Silver Legion?
We see it as a tragedy. We see it as, a lot of people go that, and it's not necessarily their choice. And it's a snowballing of events. Typhoons, they occur naturally. On other planets, though, however, there's technology to mitigate it, or the planet itself will mitigate it, or warn people and say, hey, I've got to let some steam off here. Make sure you vacate your homes so that you're not caught in it.
Right.
And people will listen to it. Some of them are actually frankly shocked at the level of lack of communication between us and our planet, but they also realize that this is not our fault, that this was done to us, that connection was severed.
What is the makeup of a storm? Because I was once told that sometimes storms come from negative emotions. They come from negative emotions and negative consciousness, that they appear, that our negative emotions and consciousness appear as storms in other star systems, or they come back to us. What are storms like? Are you aware of any storms that take place in other star systems and on other planets, or even in our universe? And are those beings?
What I know is that storms and weather phenomena do occur elsewhere, and it's not necessarily the result of anybody having bad thoughts or putting out bad things. Sometimes it's just a pure physics matter, or it's a part of the self-regulation of the environment. So it's not always a bad thing. Usually things that come back to you in terms of negativity don't tend to come back in terms of quote-unquote natural events. They tend to come back into the actions of others.
Okay.
So deliberate action as opposed to, say, I guess a mechanical response.
Right. And this question comes from Erica Lazo in Hungary. And she says, so what are the other planets she is fighting for? What is the state of them? And where are they in comparison to us?
Well, actually, one system managed to liberate itself. It was actually the next on our list, and that is the in the Aquila constellation. I can't remember the name of the system offhand right now, but it was very, very badly off, and it was next on the list. It wasn't as bad off as we are. And we were actually intending to head there right after the Terran engagement. And they ended up coming to us and saying, hey, we just kicked these guys to the curb. We freed ourselves. Do you need any help?
Right.
So, some of these worlds that are next on the lists or on the list for liberation, some of them are actually working.
Hello?
Others are not, but some are. Hello?
Yeah, you're breaking up on us. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Repeat the last thing you just said about that planet.
It liberated itself. They had a revolution what was going on far more open than it is here. It was no secret that they were occupied. There wasn't this, this song and dance and, oh, nothing is real, none of this is real, that we see here. It was very overt and in your face. And they rebelled and succeeded and kicked away their overlords and used what tech they managed to create themselves and seize from their overlords to come here and say, hey, do you need help? So because they're helping us now.
That's what I was going to say. So, Tanaath, I'm just noticing, just from my standpoint, and being newly aware of everything that's been really going on, but I think I'm noticing a shift with this planet and the people on the planet in waking up, and I think it's kind of starting to speed up a little bit. What is your opinion on that?
It is gaining momentum. We'd like to see it faster, obviously, but it's coming. It's happening, and we're still seeing things like I had a conversation. Actually, I'm calling from my Skype on my phone in my bedroom because we have guests here this weekend, and actually we were discussing with our guests, the state of awareness in the world and stuff like that. And we were discussing about how, everybody thinks that nobody else is awake because nobody ever talks about it until you get into a room and you start getting conversations like this and everybody realizes, oh my God, my brother's awake. I had no idea. Or my mom's awake. I had no idea. And I said to them, what really clued it in for me, I was having a conversation with my sister's in-laws last year, and my sister's in-laws are very, very normal Canadians. They're very salt of the earth type people, good people, working in blue collar professions, known for their quadding and partying and not necessarily known for having deep introspective discussions. And they started to tell me about the dangers of fluoride and chemtrails and about how everything is being controlled. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, yeah, if these guys can be awake, anybody can be awake.
Right.
They may not look awake on the surface, but people are awake. So yes, consciousness is changing. Sooner or later, it's going to reach a threshold where it becomes obvious. But until then, you'll have a skewed perception because people still don't talk about it openly, and you don't know what's going on in another person's mind. Don't assume that everybody out there is sheeple. There might still be some sheeple left, but I'm saying that segment of the population is shrinking rapidly. It's just that people aren't talking about it because there's still a lot of stigma and fear.
Yeah, and let me say something quickly. I want to say something to, first and foremost, I want to apologize because I know that I'm getting bombarded with messages from people that are having problems logging on because of the browser. And so I want to apologize for that. And we are going to get this interview up on YouTube. So there's going to be a lot. I know we're going to get blasted after this show because a lot of people are upset because of the fact that they can't get in and they're sending me emails, but some are listening, and that's the reason why we have those holding on. One of the questions that I've just received via email that Samuel Wolf wants to ask you is, what is the difference between incarnates and, non-incarnates? For example, he says, my dad had a strong feeling when he first heard about the Pleiadians, but he still thinks he belongs to Terra. I, for myself, love this planet, but I always had problems with this society, and I'm not sure if I really belong here in the first place.
Incarnate is usually a term that we reserve for somebody who's come here on a mission, specifically from another place. There's a lot of people who were born here from another place who aren't necessarily on a mission. Maybe they came for poops and giggles. Maybe they came for fun. Maybe they got trapped here and forgot who they were. They're technically incarnates, but they're not active as incarnates. And that might be someone like your dad who feels the kinship bond, but still recognizes that Earth is his home. To be an incarnate, you become of the planet. It's true what Julian Welch said, that anybody born on this planet becomes of Terra. And by being an incarnate, you have a unique link to Terra that non-incarnates up there do not share. Anybody born on this planet, incarnate or otherwise, has that link to Terra. You are of Terra. You are of this planet. Those of us who are on a mission don't intend to stay here permanently, though we'll probably always retain a bond and a love for this planet because of it.
I know it, and I, for one, love Terra. His second question is, who's responsible for the crop circles, and what is their purpose? I'm fascinated by them since I first heard of them.
Well, crop circles are made by a number of different groups. It's not just one group or one entity that's responsible for it. You've got humans who are making them for fun or, because they got something they want to say. Some of whom are actually inspired by real things. We've seen some human-made crop circles that actually contain real information. So we know either somebody there was knowing, or maybe they decided unconsciously to do it, or subconsciously to do something that had much meaning. We have all different groups of extraterrestrials that are making it. Some are doing it to take advantage of sacred geometry, either to, if they're working from the pro-Terran side, to help balance the energies on the planet and help raise consciousness. If they're working from the controller side, to help things go their own way. Sometimes it's just jokes and messages, and sometimes it's just people playing around. It's a wonderful way to test if some of your equipment works. If you can get a circle, well, you can at least have some effect.
Right.
So there's all kinds of things, and some of it is just penis waving.
Some of it is just what?
Is it like
penis waving? Basically,
it's penis waving.
Making threats to those who can understand it, like the controllers do that. They'll put down circles that have meanings that are threatening. We'll do the same thing. We'll put down circles that have meanings that say, hey, you dumbasses, your time is up. Things like that. So it runs the gamut from useful to entertaining to psychological combat, basically.
Okay. So now we got to deal with ETs that are penis waving.
I don't know what you want to call it, but that's the closest I can
Lord.
get. Basically,
but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. They can play that game right now because
I think you understand the value of intimidation.
Yeah, I do.
And psychological ops. Some of it's that.
But you know what? One of these days, it's coming. We're going to grow up. Right now, they're like the bullies on the block. They can do with us whatever they will. But one of these days, we're going to grow up, and we're going to be penis waving right back at them. I love that. But anyway, we have another question for you from Kim.
Okay, Tanaath, Kimberly wants to know, if you get hurt or even die during a Silver Legion mission, what happens to your Earth body?
Well, if you get hurt, I know from personal experience, I usually wake up with aches and pains, and I self-heal very rapidly, and in the rare occasion where I require actual medical intervention up there, then I get confined to the infirmary, and Kudelich sits on my chest and tells me, don't even think about leaving until I clear you for exits. And then I'm stiff and sore for a couple of days, and then it goes away and I'm all fine. To the best of my knowledge, I have not yet died up there. We have had this happen a couple of times, where people who are incarnated have died up there, and actually what happens is, we play some tricks with time, such that we bring them back in what for the body feels like immediately, so that the link isn't severed. And we have somebody who goes and makes sure that that link is held open so that they don't lose connection to their body.
Okay. And the next question comes from Donovan Williams.
Donovan asks, I have a question regarding the error of evil and the accidental existence of the demiurge and his archons. You mentioned that evil is an error. What if the archons is the answer to the evil of it?
To the error of evil? Well, then it's not a very good answer because they're part of the problem. No, the archons are, I would say they're artifacts of the error. Not an answer. Artifacts of it, produced by it.
And also, since all beings, whether positive or negative, came from the prime creator, are born of light, but the archons were born unnaturally by Sophia, or Gaia, does this theory prove to be close to the answers to evil itself, or is there some other sinister force that has not been documented or seen yet?
They weren't born from Sophia, or Gaia, or Terra, or Mita, or whatever you want to call her. They didn't originate here. They came from somewhere else. So that question is based on something that, like an assumption that I'm not following here.
Okay, and the next question comes from Linda Freer of Ohio. Linda wants to know how a no-money system functions and what would it look like?
Well, it's fairly straightforward. It's a matter of barter and trade. For one thing, no-money systems are typically predicated on abundance, meaning that there is not a perception or a reality of shortage. Instead, everybody has what they need. And people trade for things that they want rather than what they need. In higher tech societies, these are usually based off replicators. So everybody gets what they need from the replicator, whether it's food or clothes or housing or whatever. But, for instance, me, I still keep sheep, not to eat them, but, so that they can help take care of the land, because animals do help take care of the land, help the grass grow. And in return, in every spring after the winter, they give me their wool, and I then card it, spin it, and dye it, and, trade it to people as yarn or as finished goods who trade me something in return. Like maybe something I like wine, which doesn't replicate well because you require yeast which is a living thing that cannot be replicated in order to create it. Or cheese from cows who do the same thing with their milk that sheep do with their fur.
Okay.
Or wool.
Okay, and Chris, we've got two more people holding on. I know one of them is Abigail because she's listening to the show via the phone lines. Do you know who the other two individuals are, and if they want to come on or if they just want to ask a question?
Yeah, that's no way for me to let me know.
Okay, and so the next question also comes from Linda. Linda would also like to know why you and Sunfire are not on Drake's show anymore.
Drake has requested it for this time being. Also, it is a heavy load on both myself and Sunfire to do that week after week after week. I have a very active, busy life, so it's not easy for me to make a weekly show these days. And another thing is, I'm waiting for certain things myself before I'm willing to have a regular show again. And once these things occur, then I won't have any problems going back to it. But until then, I'm waiting, and Drake is waiting as well.
Okay.
So, we communicate on a daily basis. So, this isn't a matter of where we just all sort of decided, we're going to split and go our separate ways. We do communicate and work together very closely on a daily basis. We've decided at this time we want to put the ET shows on hold. There's some, very big things going on. And we're waiting for some certain events before we're willing to go back and have a regular show.
Okay. Are those events close to taking place? And
we hope so. We're working for it. It's one of these things where I've used the tunneling metaphor before. We're tunneling. We can hear the sound of the rock changing, but I don't know when it's actually going to happen. And I will not use that dirty 4-letter word that begins with an S.
Okay, but one of the things that I will ask is this going to be something that uplifts the consciousness of humanity?
If we have our way, yes, very much so.
Okay, so you mean I'm going to be able to get to do my penis waving back to ETs sooner than I think?
I hope so. We're working for it, right? My job is not to be on the radio. My job consists of a lot more than that, a lot behind the scenes stuff. I am working every day on seeing the good future that we're all working towards come into fruition.
Right. And the next question comes from TT. I don't know where TT is located at, but are black holes stargates or wormholes to other dimensions?
You can use a black hole for travel if your ship has the correct technology on it. If your ship does not have the correct technology on it, you go in, you get crunched, and you get spit out a white hole somewhere as a whole bunch of unspecified matter ready to be turned into something else.
Wait, you said a white
I wouldn't
hole?
suggest attempting to use a black hole for travel or transferring to other places unless you know what you're doing.
Right, so if you get spit out of a white hole...
Wormholes exist naturally and can be generated and created, and they're used typically for transport from one physical location to another, although you can also use them if they're configured correctly to transport to different dimensions. Typically not to different universes. For different universes, you need slightly different tech.
Okay, let me ask you, you mentioned you get spit out of a white hole.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you be?
Wherever that white hole happens to be. Black holes, their terminus, where they spit out, is generally not in the same proximate location.
So you could end up in another
think
universe?
Of a black hole as the drain in your tub. But instead of it coming out as dirty water in the sewer, it's coming out clean water in a lake somewhere with no space in between. The water leaves your tub through the drain, all dirty and yucky and whatever it is, and gets spat out as pure water, running down a mountainside somewhere that's completely not anywhere tied or, you wouldn't even guess it to be the same connection, but it is.
Okay, we're gonna give you a chance to take a short break, and we're gonna see if we can get some of these browser issues cleared up. And so we're gonna come back to you at the top of the hour. And I want to dedicate this song to the people of the Philippines. But Tanaath, before you go, we're coming up on our Thanksgiving. And I remember, I think the last time I talked to you guys were having your Thanksgiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was it that you were supposed to fix or you didn't fix and take over there? I know you were kind of slacking the last time I talked to you about this Thanksgiving thing. Remember? I was like, well, what are you going to cook and take over there? Remember that?
I made the gravy, and it was delicious.
Oh, I know that you were kind of getting off easy. I remember
that. Normally, I'm the one who cooks the turkey, but this time it was my mother who cooked the turkey. But, my pregnant sister-in-law was sick that day and could not come because it did involve travel out of the city. And she's getting very close to due date.
Oh, is she?
She could not come, and she missed Thanksgiving, and she was really sad about that. So I said to her, well, we got a turkey, and when you're feeling better, we can cook it. And she said, oh, great. How about Saturday? So actually the very week after Thanksgiving, I ended up cooking a turkey anyway.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
It was delicious.
Listen, here's what you got to do. You've got to, first and foremost, you need to write a book, or you probably need to start an advice column. But you also need to put together your little Tanaath's cookbook, because people don't know. You can throw down, because you sent me a recipe for some barbecue sauce that was excellent. So people need to know that, you know how to throw down too, so you can teach them how to cook. But we're going to give you a chance. Yeah, we're going to give you a chance to go get some water and take a break, and we're going to come back to you at the top of the hour. And again, thank you so much for being on. You guys are on the Tanaath Show with Vince.
Come on, come on, come on, love and talk to me. I really wanna be you. Can I talk to you? I wanna know you. Come and talk to me. Oh, I really wanna be you. Can I talk to you?
Vegas Altnet Radio. Welcome back to the Talk with Vince Show. I'm your host, Vince Martin, along with the lovely Susie, me, you shoot baby Smith, and we're on with our very special guest, Tanaath. And I know I know. I am getting blasted because of this stupid browser. So
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Sunfire has mentioned that a lot of people are like on the Facebook are reporting being unable to connect.
yeah. And so,
Some people who I Skype with regularly are unable to connect. It's
yeah, we're
pretty.
getting,
I take it you don't normally have this kind of problem.
no, I don't. But you know what? Honestly, I don't go on the page, so therefore. But I know that it's been an issue in the past, and I think that they have to do what it is that whenever I've brought it to their attention, they always say it's the browser that you're using. It's Google Chrome. Or you have to go up and you have to download this. No, I think it's an issue that they need to fix, or I'll be moving on.
Well,
I think the next time what we're going to do is that the next time we have you on, and I think what I'm just going to start doing, period, is I'm just going to start you streaming the show. I've got the YouTube channel. I just don't use it. So.
Well, I just wanted to make a statement that I was unable to hear the show live before I started co-hosting. And when I stopped and actually read the pop-up that occurs when I tried to listen live, I'm pretty techy, but even some stuff kind of, I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to click that. But if there's somebody that's not where I am, technical-wise, computer-wise.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's really if you don't know the Google dashboard and where to go find the menu and the extensions, and then when you finally get it and you install this extension, it says, by clicking this, you are allowing Google to have access to everything on your computer or something like that. I'm like, oh, hell no. And I forget about it,
Yeah, you might want to switch to a different plugin that doesn't
do that.
Trample all over people's privacy.
Right.
Okay, yeah, and so we'll get this up. We'll get the archive up as soon as possible. And, hell, I guess I'm going to have to actually put something up on my YouTube channel. I guess I have to put this interview up on my YouTube channel.
And, Tantarum, when he has the opportunity, does YouTube all of the shows that I do.
Yeah, he does, and he has my permission to do this one too.
Yeah,
so.
And it's, I prefer to have, provided that there's not any hostile edits made, prefer to have multiple copies, because as we saw with the kitty cat incident with Denise Redneur of Universal Voice, if you've only got a couple copies of something and there's no duplication, well, all you need is one bad key, knock over a hard drive and you lose it all. So,
right. And so in the show,
I'm never going to say to somebody, no, you don't have the right to post an unedited version of my shows.
Right.
I encourage the people I do interviews with to make a unedited free copy available for download, or for, if they don't want to stream, I can understand that because there's different costs involved with doing so, but at least make a copy available in MP3 form or in some form that people can get without paying money, because I don't believe that this information should be put behind a paywall.
Right, I understand that. And I think what we're going to do is start you streaming to YouTube, so that means Susie going to have to come in here sexy every Saturday.
God.
So that she can look into the camera, because I'm not looking into no camera.
Me neither.
Yeah, so put the camera right there in her face, so that's what they'll be looking at all day long. So she's going to have to put on, because she just got out of the little Fright Dome thing where she had to wear this little red negligee and whatever it was. And so she's going to have to put on a little red negligee.
I will not.
And put on her little makeup, and so that way she can be beautiful, because people like looking at beautiful people. So we're going to put the pretty people on the camera, and then we're going to conduct the interview. That's what we're going to do. But getting back to this so that we can move on with the flow, because we do have people that are listening. Some have been able to get in. This comes from TT also. And T is one of the ones that just hit me up. And he just said, Huh? You just said, okay. Yeah, we're emailing
Okay,
the
TT
technical
says,
advisor right now.
who are the Cassiopeans? Are they considered positives, negatives, or neutrals?
There is a positive reptilian species, I believe, at Cassiopeia. They're blue, and they're not at all related to the Draco or the Hydra. And they're actually fairly friendly.
They're blue?
They're blue.
Oh, okay, cool. So they must be...
Varying shades of blue.
So they must... Oh, okay.
So the movie Avatar, would the inhabitants of that planet, I forget the name of the planet on that, but do you think there's some truth behind that movie with regards to...
Oh, of course there is. I don't know if Pandora and the Na'vi are in this universe, but, you know, anything represented as fiction exists somewhere. And actually, you know, that is a particular interesting one, because it's got, on one hand, it's got some pretty positive messages, but on another hand, it's, you know, definitely promoting the transhumanist agenda, which I've spoken of previously, and I want to reinforce. This thing is, it is, you know, it's being promoted. Oh, well, you know, we can transcend our human failings, such as short lifespan and crippled bodies and sickness and all of this by, you know, putting our consciousness into something else. No, don't do it. It is a trap. These short lifespans and crippled bodies and sicknesses were induced possibly in order to make it seem like a good idea to put our consciousness into something else. Don't do it. Bad. I've personally looked down on futures in which Terra does this, and the result is nothing short of horrific for all involved. So, you know, you're better off taking out anyone who is a proponent for this and hanging them. It's violently, violently bad for all involved, and
wow.
not a solution to anything.
And this comes from Saz in Brazil. She is in, I think she's in Sao Paulo, Brazil, is where she's located at, or is located at. She wants to know, is the Cabal just a puppet of the reptilians and other bad ETs, or is it an independent terrain group that works with or receive aid from them?
The Cabal trace their origins to what they believe of as godly bloodlines, but are actually hostile, negative, extraterrestrial bloodlines. They are hybrids of reptilians and humans. That said, there have been other races involved with them. They consider themselves independent. You know, there's so many factions involved here. There's factions within the Cabal. There's factions within, like, there's different negative ET factions that have been involved with them. It's a very complex situation. So it's hard to give a straight answer to that, because there is no straight answer. It's a mixed up circumstance. Yes, they've accepted aid from numerous different groups. Yes, some of them think that they're operating independently, while others, you know, are working with what they acknowledge as a greater power or greater than themselves. It's all bad. We'll put it that way. And there's indications, likewise, that the reptilians themselves may have been controlled by other groups. So, you know, how far does the Russian nesting doll go? Well, I don't really know. We're looking into this, right? I just trust that we're going to do our job and at least keep Kara safe. And hopefully help the whole universe in the meantime.
Saz has another question. Would the Cabal still be a threat in the case of a surprise ascension without cleaning the house? If the answer is yes, how big of a threat?
Yes, they'd still be a threat. Now they would be, how big a threat would be, I guess, roughly dependent on how much they'd be able to transport that off planet. You know, or how much they'd be able to spread.
She also says, if Tanaath if the Silver Legion good ETs need a place to park their ships in Brazil, she states she's got plenty of space.
Yeah, Brazil's an interesting. There's a lot of UFO activity in certain regions of Brazil, and this is because there are negative bases there. A number of negative bases.
What does that
a
term
variety
refer to?
of different species.
What does that term refer to? Negative base. When you say negative bases,
When I say a negative base, I mean a base that isn't run by one of the more positive or neutral groups of ETs that are involved.
Okay, and I have a question for you. This comes from Bridget, and Bridget is in California, and Bridget wants to know why her daughter hasn't crossed over and why she's cooking in her kitchen.
I cannot answer that question because I don't have any information at all on that question.
And I
I'm not a medium, so I can't answer people's questions about why their relatives are there. You'd be better off asking your relative yourself if you can.
Right, and sometimes when it don't cross over, and they're caught in infrared, they're the ones that. And right now, she's functioning as a ghost, and so she's a disincarnated soul. And Bridget and Quaintance, because Quaintance is also involved in this question, you can tell her to go find a light. Maybe she just needs to go find a light. And sometimes when there's funerals that are taking place, you may find the light in that church so that she can go to the light and cross over. But something is keeping her here.
Maybe she's got something that she feels she needs to do still.
Yeah, that's.
Or maybe what you're looking at is, Sunfire might be a better one to ask, because Sunfire has years as a professional paranormal investigator. And, she might conclude that this is a residual and not a matter of the spirit or entity has not crossed over, but there's some strong imprint of energy. If you see a ghost doing the same thing over and over again with no change, it's likely an imprint rather than that ghost actually being literally there.
It's like
an energetic imprint.
Like a recording of a moment in time that keeps playing over and over again.
Yeah.
And
especially if it doesn't acknowledge anything outside of its replay, that's when you really know you got an imprint.
Okay, and one of the things that, actually, in actuality, what you should do is that you should bring Sunfire on the show, or have Sunfire come on the show. And one of the things that I would like for you to do right now is tell people to stop beating her up.
Yeah, none of us are perfect, but hey,
No, I think what it is that, and God bless them, because of the fact that, you have a lot of followers. And one of the things that they need to understand is that sometimes you like to interact with Drake and with Sunfire. But see, it's just like when you come on my show, people only want to hear you. That's all they want to hear. But I think what probably you could ease some of that if you just let them know that, hey, listen, when you're on with Sunfire or you on with Drake, it's because you've asked them to be on with you so that they could provide you guys get more knowledge, more wisdom, and a lot more information. And
exactly. So I'm not like Drake. I can't monologue for 2 hours.
Right.
I need some input to play off of.
Yeah, so that way that they quit beating her up, because I know she,
and they complain about him too for doing exactly what they're trying to ask me to do.
Right, because
no.
And they complain if they interrupt you, but they have to ask you a question, just like we have to ask you questions. Sometimes you have to stop you and say, hey, listen, because you'll say something, and I was like, well, okay, I want to know, just like when you mentioned being discarded out of going through the black hole and being discarded out of a white hole. That's a term that we had not heard. So I have to stop and say, hey, listen, can you explain that? And I think when we do that, people take it as you being interrupted, but I think you probably should let them know that you like interacting with Drake and Sunfire, and that you do bring them on. And, just like the time when you came on my show, you brought Drake on with you so that they would get a lot more information.
Mm-hmm. I think poor Drake maybe feels a little squelched by us two ladies at times, because we can, the two of us can talk for 3 hours, and poor Drake, all he gets is a yep.
And okay, so let's get back into these questions, because one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, I wanted to know, how would you assess the state of affairs in the world today? I mean, are we on a path of enlightenment, or being sucked into a much more sinister consciousness as the cabal try to fulfill their prophecy?
I would say that we're breaking out. I mean, the closer we get, I'm noticing that it's very, very difficult, and increasingly more difficult, to get reliable information about anything going on whatsoever. Like, it is just difficult to get accurate, reliable information. And it's an ongoing and worsening trend. And it's like it's the radio static before the program comes on, almost like. So we're not particularly worried about this. We know that it's going to get increasingly difficult to get accurate information, but that is not an invitation to freak out. It's very important that even if you're not hearing what's going on, that you continue to work whatever your portion is towards contributing towards success. You continue to do that, even if you're not getting the feedback from other sources or other groups, or, even if you don't know whether anybody in Syria is still left alive, or whether it's all a lie coming out of there, or what's going on in the Philippines. It's important to continue to do your part, no matter what. And this is something I've struggled with myself, and finally, came to that realization that doesn't matter what's going on elsewhere, I still got to do my job. Okay. So, we're seeing a lot of that, and, people will look at it and say, oh, everything's going bad, but no, it is the fog of war, and it's always worst right before something breaks, and when it breaks all of a sudden. It's very, it's almost shocking when it happens, because it seems, after that fog of war, it's so unexpected to have clarity. It's, like going from Beijing and at its most polluted to, the crisp mountain air of Canada when they haven't been spraying.
That's funny. That really is. So,
Tanaath, in terms of Earth, what is the greatest challenge facing the Silver Legion at this moment?
Again, it's this, I guess you could call the fog of war the static. It's affecting not just information here on the ground, but up there as well. And also just, it can be frustrating to do all this work without getting, feedback. And I don't mean feedback in terms of people saying, oh, thank you, Silver Legion, but feedback in terms of being able to see our results in a clear way. It's frustrating when you don't have that. But again, it's nose to the grindstone and do our job, and keep to, if not precisely the plan, then as close to it as possible.
Do you think that you were just talking about the how people get frustrated with the times that you and Sunfire and Drake have had your shows, and they're kind of picking you apart. But I think that it's more of an intuitive thing for every person. Mm-hmm. And I think when people aren't in tune with their intuition, that's where you're going to have the grasping at straws, the latching on to somebody's every word, because that's going to be like their savior, because they're not going within and tuning into themselves. And
yeah, very much so.
And so, and I've actually said this for the past year, I feel that because of the constant barrage of disinformation that's out there, like you're saying, is becoming thicker by the day as we're getting through the rock with the spoon, so to speak.
Yep.
It's tuning it within. You're going to learn to trust that truth, and that no matter what anything else is going on or what anybody says, you're going to know inside that you did the right thing and that it's the truth. And that's kind of where what I'm taking from what you just said a little bit ago.
Yes, and then at least if you don't succeed, you've done so honestly after giving your best effort, and that does matter, and it does count.
Right.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this question. How's my dragon people doing up there in the Silver Legion?
They're doing pretty good, actually. There is a small group of dragons from another species that had been slaves to one of these negative factions, and we're looking at making a home for them because they don't have a planet of their own. It was destroyed.
What planet were they?
And
what was the planet that they were from?
I'm not familiar. It was long enough so that it's not going to be well known, and I don't know the name of it even.
Does any of them look like Khaleesi?
No, they're kind of a greeny browny color, and they're, well, small by my standards, but then I'm a very big dragon.
So, and just in case people don't know who Khaleesi is the mother of dragons on Game of Thrones. The blonde. Well, actually,
The blonde with the dragons.
Yeah, she's towhead. She's towhead. She's not blonde. She's towhead because she's got white hair, and she's the mother of dragons. And I love Khaleesi. I love Game of Thrones too.
I read it. It's enjoyable.
Next question I want to ask you are you aware of any wars that are taking place in the heavens as we speak, and if so, who's involved?
Yeah, there's a lot going on up there. Wars? Yes. There is an ongoing war in this and other galaxy that I guess you could sort of characterize as going on between free will and self-determination and control and domination. And what's going on here on this planet is part of it. As above, so below.
So is this going on beyond the naked eye in our solar system or beyond our solar system?
Beyond our solar system, even within this whole galaxy and this whole local supercluster. Like, it's big.
Are the reptilians involved?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, as are many other factions and groups. And like I said, now evidence has come. And we've always known that, the reptilians did not start out the way they are now. Something came along to induce, I guess you could call it this insanity. And we're still looking for the agent and or agents responsible for that. Yeah, because if they can be returned to a state in which they are autonomous and self-determining without trying to take that away from anyone else, then that we consider that a win. It would be better than wiping them out. Although I understand that a lot of people want to do that because, there's been so much pain and torment and trauma. But if it's, if it wasn't their fault, then the best we can do is make it so that they can't do it any longer and not punish them further.
So they were kind of duped by their own cabal in a way, just like we are.
We don't know the exact circumstances, but it was likely something that occurred, sabotage from within, yes. Infiltration and sabotage.
Well, I guess if I look, I ain't gonna say that. I guess if I looked like they looked, I guess I'd be pissed at the rest of the universe too.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes,
it is. And I've seen some reptilians that are actually very beautiful, but did not stop them from being horrible people, right?
Yeah, well, I guess some of them are beautiful in the sun because some of them some of these reptilians are here on Earth. But when you were talking about them being influenced, I can tell you that what was coming to my mind is I kept thinking Jehovah. Because Jehovah...
Funny you should mention that, yeah.
Yeah, Jehovah was a tyrant, and he was responsible for a lot of the turmoil that's going on in the Middle East. I'm not going to say now, but back then, he was responsible for the whole thing that went on in Egypt. So I wonder, and I know that he's in the Pleiades right now, and he should be returning. And he's the one, along with Yahweh. I don't know if Yahweh is going to be involved, but there's going to be another war in the heavens, or it's taking place now. And I believe it involves Yahweh and Jehovah, because a lot of people don't know that they are separate beings.
No, people don't realize that. And they're not, they're also not gods. I'm sorry, they're not.
No, they're not. They are our sisters, our brothers. They are actually our brothers. And we realize that. The next question that I have for you is, what is Gaia's greatest cry right now to the source?
She wants relief. She wants this to be over with. The sooner the better. I mean, if we go back to the birth thing, she's at the point where a woman might be screaming for an epidermal or saying, I hate you, why did I let you do this to me? It's not fun for her, but she also knows that it will get better.
Does she view us as being parasites on her body?
No, she doesn't, actually. She views some people who I will not include as us because they are not true humans. She views them as parasites, but she does not view humans as parasites. She views humans who are vibrating at the same resonance as she is as her people. And of course, all the animals and plants and biomass on this planet is also hers as well. She views it as hers. But no, she does not view us as parasites. Not in general. She also understands that we were done to, even as she was done to. And I believe she does long for that connection back with us that other planets share with their people. Just as many of us long for that connection with her.
So it's more or less like we are abusive kids. It's what we are. On riding along with mother, we are abusive kids in essence.
In the back seat of the car, and she's going to pull over and...
No.
Yeah, except she won't pull over and make us walk home.
Right.
She values the life on her surface because that is part of what makes her great, right? A planet's greatness is partially in the life that she carries, and it usually is a she, although you do see some male planets and female suns. It usually is a she and a he sun. We're part of her strength. We're part of what makes her successful as a planet. So she doesn't want to just toss us off, shake us off like a dog shakes fleas off. I know a lot of people are saying that. There might have been at some point where she was thinking it, but, she does also realize that we were done to, and she was done to. And the only way to fix it is to come together.
And you know what? She is such a beautiful entity, because even today, I still see pictures of places that I've never been, and there are some awe-inspiring places on this earth that we're probably yet to explore.
She really, really treasures and loves those few individuals who are able to have a typical connection. What so many other planets and people take for granted is rare and sometimes has to be worked for very hard on this planet. And she really, really treasures those who take the effort to do so, or, who maybe have the correct genetic or spiritual capacity that makes it very easy for them. Gaia loves those people. And she wishes everybody was those people.
And you visit other planets and seen other planets. Let people know just how special she is. Because from what I understand, we're probably one of a handful of planets, or maybe the only planet where the photosynthesis green is seen, because not a lot of planets have a yellow sun. We have a yellow sun, which creates green.
That's not quite true. You see it all over the place, different colors. Some places are orange, some places are purple or red or blue, we're not the only green planet out there.
A handful. There's not that many. There's not that many where.
Oh, honey, there's a lot of yellow suns, and actually our sun isn't yellow anymore. It's white.
But how is she in relation to other planets? How would you classify her?
I'd classify her as a junior high student about to graduate to senior high.
Okay.
Tanaath, we had Bill Sneblin on, who has interviewed in DVD series Interview with an Ex-Vampire. He mentioned a dream he had about being in a Temple of Doom on one of Saturn's moons. After he was sacrificed to what he described as benevolent being, who switched to demonic malevolent being, he was sent back to Earth in a fireball and landed on his front lawn. The following day, he awoke from what he thought was a dream and found a burnt spot on his lawn. Are you aware of any temples of doom or any structures on Saturn or its moons?
Saturn and its moons are not exactly known for being friendly, so it's entirely possible. We have seen involvement with a particular cult. I don't know if I'm permitted to disclose the nature of that cult or its name. But yes, Saturn and its satellites have been implicated in those involvements. I would seriously question the benevolence of anything accepting a sacrifice. I don't know what he meant by a benevolent being, because if it's taking a sacrifice, it sure ain't.
It was initially he was like enticed, and it seemed very friendly, and then it changed on him. Wasn't that right, Vince?
Yeah, here's how he described it. He described going to this temple to where these people looked to be zombie-like, and there was this benevolent being who almost looked angelic sitting up in his chair. And as he came closer to him, he changed and became demonic to where he almost looked like, what's that thing, Batmosphere or whatever it's called? And he changed into like a demon. And what he did was he took his talon and stuck it down into his forehead and said, "You're mine now." He was involved in a vampire culture, but he said that he was dreaming and he thought he was having an out-of-body experience, and he was sent back to Earth in this fireball.
I think he was.
And but the next day when he got up, the lawn was
I suspect that
burnt.
it was more than just a dream. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, and he actually. He said that there was another ceremony that took place to where what he described as sacrificed or sold his soul to the devil. And he said the reason why people do that or take on.
I'm sorry, I'm having some attenuation of this signal.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Did we lose her?
Are you still here? She's still with us?
I don't know if I'm still hearing you. I'm experiencing some attenuation of the sound.
Right.
Where it slows down and then I'm getting it all at once.
Yeah, we're still here. We're hearing you clearly. And
okay.
He said that when he did that, the whole nature of his blood changed, and he became sensitive to sunlight. He sensitive to garlic. He couldn't go near garlic. He had to work a night shift. He had 3 witches in his covenant. He had 11 witches in his covenant, and 3 of them that he fed on because he had to drink blood, and he said drinking blood became addictive. But the reason why I'm asking you that question is because, or I'm making a comment, is because we've just went through a vampire craze in this country, and now they seem to be moving on, and now they're starting to glorify zombieism. What's your take on that? Because I saw a movie the other day where the damn zombie even was changing back into being human, and it was they presented it almost like that love story. What's the one where the vampire and the girl is in love that everybody was?
Oh yeah, Vampire Diaries no, True Blood.
No, not True Blood. It's the one out of where they were out of Canada. It's oh my God, what's the name of it? It's because it was a whole book series.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the
Yeah, where the girl fall in love with
Twilight?
series.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that was not out of Canada. That was written by Stephanie Meyer, and it's
I'm sorry.
What can I say? The worst Mary Sue. As somebody who writes.
I'm sorry, I meant Seattle. The setting took place in Seattle. Well, now I see this story to where you've had all of these movies involving zombies, and then the other day you had this movie on to where the girl was falling in love with this zombie who was apparently changing back into human. And I'm bringing this up.
Glorification of mindlessness? Gee, I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder. And so I wonder, what's your take on what's going on with this zombieism? Is it just Hollywood trying to strike while the iron is hot, or is it
I think there's probably some agenda that somebody somewhere is, or some people somewhere are trying to push. Look at the key features of zombie movies and the zombie genre. You have the us against them mentality. You have the last ditch hope, last ditch survivor against overwhelming odds mentality. You have the breakdown of society and the dog eat dog syndrome, where you have the warlords coming up, and if you watch The Walking Dead, you have some who are, even amidst this overwhelming destruction, are using it to further their own plans, and even the human survivors can't trust one another. It's a overwhelming theme of mistrust, of abject struggle, of no hope, of a glorification of violence and mindlessness. Consider the themes. What is it they're trying to get out of that? How do these themes affect us psychologically? If things start happening, then, here we've got all these suggestions to fight your neighbor because your neighbor is probably coming to take your food, or your girlfriend, or whatever, You've got these suggestions that you can't trust anyone except for yourself, or maybe, your best friend. You've got all these suggestions that you better arm up, grab a shotgun or something like that. And don't be afraid to use it against anybody, friend or foe. It's not exactly friendly.
Okay, and one of the other things too is that this is kind of out of the realm of what we usually talk about, but in our country, we've had a lot of problems with this Obamacare, and people
call it what it is. Call it McCain care. Because that puppet didn't come up with it. It was invented before he came into office. It was invented actually by McCain's faction.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
And
I get really ticked off when people call it Obamacare, because he's just the puppet who was there when it came into play. It was put into play. It was started during the Bush era.
Okay. And what is its purpose?
Its purpose is to feed money to the insurance companies who are funding the cabal. Flat out.
Yeah.
You'll note it has nothing to do with provision of health care. It has to do with provision of insurance. Insurance is not the same as health care. Anybody who's ever actually fought with their insurance company to get health care understands insurance is not health care. Insurance for your home is not the same as having a home. Insurance for your car is not the same as having a car. It is an attempt to force mandatory insurance on everyone, which says absolutely zero about how healthcare is funded, provided, the standards thereof, whether it's based on evidence or just a bunch of hoo-ha. It has absolutely nothing to do with healthiness and everything to do with taking money from people and feeding it straight to the cabal.
Do you think we've we made some progress as one voice, so to speak, with how this is all turning out at this point? That, oops, we made a mistake, it's not working, blah, blah, blah.
No, I think they're just putting on a dog and pony show. And the bottom line is, in the end, it's a tax to the insurance companies.
Yeah. It's not even going to the healthcare providers, it's going to the insurance companies. And I'm sorry, but insurance is a scam. Insurance is a funding mechanism for the cabal.
Yeah, it really is. It most, I have to agree with you on that. And one of the things that I need to ask you is, has your mission changed with the Silver Legion?
No, I'm still doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And that is for those of people that don't know what it is that you do for the Silver Legion.
In part, I'm here to be, I guess you could say, the public face, but I'm also here to actually do the work behind the scenes. And part of that has included getting into contact with other people who are doing similar work, and combining our efforts.
How many light workers would you estimate there are on Earth?
Oh boy, I have no idea. I know that
that
there's
you are aware
at least several million.
That you are aware of.
At least several million.
And collectively, what is their mission?
Collectively, their mission is to see to it that that this ascension takes place in the most possible manner, or the most positive manner it possibly can.
Okay.
And to, after that, there's a lot of people who will be activated after that, who will be, taking care of things like cleaning up the pollution and getting rid of all the radiation and icky stuff, and helping clean up the earth and rebalance the ecosystem so that human beings are living in harmony with the plants and animals, and that no one group is harming any other unduly, etc. All of those wonderful things. Seeing to it that our education is, I guess, appropriate rather than this hideous pounding of dogma and hierarchy that goes on now.
Okay.
And lies.
And your commander of the Silver Legion.
I'm one of the 6 members of the command team. Admiral Mander has been officially recognized as a member of the command team.
Okay, and your commander, if he had a message for the people of Earth, because I think the reason why, since Susie kind of touched on it earlier, is that I think people are in essence running out of hope. They keep waiting for something to happen. They keep waiting. I almost get the sense that,
why are you waiting for something to happen? Why aren't you going out and making something happen? Why aren't you doing something?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Waiting does not accomplish anything.
But people, I think what it is that people are, I almost get the sense that they're so fed up in their own personal lives. They look at everything that's going on and they say, well, why don't they come and help us and blah, blah, blah. But I think you have to take it upon yourself to make a difference.
Yes, exactly. We can't be your saviors. We can't come here and rescue you from yourselves. You've got to do, this is your lives. It behooves you to raise your hands and raise your fingers and do something for yourself. Right. We'll do what we can, but we're also limited in that we can't do anything that screws up your potential to be a sovereign, self-directed people, which means that some of the things that we want to do, we can't do because we're not gods. We don't want to be your gods. We don't want to be your babysitters. We don't want to be here 100,000 years from now still repeating the same things because you never learned how to do it for yourself. And speaking as a Terran, I don't want to wait around for somebody else to save me. I'm doing something to save myself and the people around me. I think it behooves us to get off our butts and do something.
Exactly. And
no task is too small or too great. Whatever it is you feel called to do, just stop waiting.
So it's a matter of, like I said, trusting the intuition and the voice inside that's saying, I want to do this. And yet then on the other hand, we have the dumbing down and numbing down essence that we've all been subjected to for so long. that sometimes it's almost hard to trust our own intuition.
Yeah, and I can understand that. But you know what? I think, we know for a fact that there are light workers who are innocently working for the other side. But the nature of the contribution is that if your intentions are good, even if you're working for the wrong group, you'll still be able to accomplish something good. You'll still be able to move things forward. Maybe not as powerfully or as drastically, but you'll still be able to do a good job, right?
Right. And I think what it is that part of people's frustration is that you have people like myself, like yourself, like Susie. You have the ones that are awake. And it's very difficult sometimes to reach the masses, to explain to them that, hey, listen, this is going on. You need to stop sending these people and putting these people into power because they're just hijacking your freedom, your consciousness. And it's very difficult sometimes to uplift consciousness as a whole. But if we do it one mind at a time, we will get there. One of the next question that I have for you is...
Well, before you do that, I want to mention to people, there is one thing that you can get involved with. Anyway, if you're feeling called to it, to get involved in the reform of the justice system and the development, especially in the United States, the development of the citizens' grand jury. Look this up. Because this is an actual thing. And, I've listened to Drake talk about it a lot. And, while the guest speaker that he had, there's things I differ on. In terms of judicial reform and in terms of remaking the system from the inside in such a way that it can't be easily co-opted by, if you'll forgive a juvenile concept, the bad guys. This is more effective than a violent revolution. They've been trying to, the cabal has been trying to push us into a violent revolution because those fail. And because they can easily co-opt those. Something that has a legal basis that they can't actually use their own tricks to argue against, like a citizen's grand jury, has a lot of power. It needs people to make it work.
Actually.
And, if you're from a country not of the United States like me and you've got some information or experience on the legal system, see how something similar can be created in your country. This is one thing that some people could get involved in. And the militias, that's another thing. Militias aren't there to shoot them up. Militias are there to, say for instance you have something like a bad snowstorm or a hurricane. Militias are of the community and they're there to help. We don't need empire armies, but we do need military forces that are capable of providing disaster relief, for instance.
So it's kind of like, we're going to take the law into our own hands because you guys aren't doing it.
Yes, but it will be a law. There will be a basis for it besides, something other than I just don't like the way you look or I just don't like the way you do things. Common law is natural law, and, whether you want to base it on, say it's based off, God's law or whatever, natural law is universal law. It doesn't need to be handed to you from a higher source. It's predicated on the notion that only things that have a victim are a crime.
Okay, we've got about 30 seconds left. I want to really thank you for being on the show again, and I apologize to all of those individuals that were not able to listen because of the browser issues that we're having, but we're going to get the archive up as soon as we possibly can. Tanaath, what's your parting message to the people?
Once again, no fear. And, if you're tired of waiting, start doing what you can to move things forward quicker. Whatever it is that occurs to you, just make sure that it's constructive and not destructive, because destructive actions won't move you ahead any farther.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wonder if the cabal had any issue. The cabal messing with our browser today, man? That's okay. They were trying to stop your message, but we're going to get it out anyway. I want to thank you so much for coming on my show again. I want to say how much we love you. You guys out there, have a great week. And again, we apologize for doing this. Tanaath, I got you, babe. Hopefully the book is on the way. You should be getting it here pretty soon.
All right.
Thank you. And go enjoy those relatives now.
Yep, it was unexpected, but not unwelcome.
That's okay. Tell them to have a drink for me on you.